Welcome everyone to another episode of What's Working in E-commerce. I'm your host, Eagan Heath. I am the owner of Caravan Digital. We help direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands sell more of their products through paid search, paid social, and email automation. I'm excited to present to you Halie Adams today. She's with BigCommerce, which is one of the major platforms in e-commerce. We're very excited to have her with, and she's a senior agency enablement manager. Halie, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Right on. Tell us a little bit about is it the multi-storefront? What is that, and how should e-commerce businesses think about that?
So before jumping in, so my name is Halie. I've had 6.5 years of experience working at BigCommerce here. So I've seen it grow from less than 400 people to now over 1,500 people globally. It's been awesome. My sole focus, I've been in multiple departments, you can see here, but I solely focus on enabling our agency partners in the EMEA region. So love to have a focus specifically on agencies, my favorite group. And I've supported the US and EMEA. So there's a lot that I've done here. But in case you're not familiar with BigCommerce, maybe you're like, I've heard the name, but I don't know exactly what they do or how they're different. So BigCommerce is an e-commerce platform. We consider ourselves open SaaS, which is a term that we use quite often. It's getting some traction in the market. And we support merchants that just started out selling online all the way to large enterprise brands. Some, for those that can't see my screen, you'll see like Leica Cameras on here, Ted Baker, Black Diamond, SC Johnson. So really large brands also utilize BigCommerce. And we're focused on businesses that sell direct to consumer, that sell to other businesses, that sell just domestically, or that have a global presence. So really a large range of businesses using us.
Yeah. Halie, can I ask a little bit there since I've got you on? How do you guys talk about it? How do you think about, who BigCommerce is best for? A lot of people watching this or listening to this are kind of coming from the Shopify world, maybe some WooCommerce or Magento kind of competitors with BigCommerce. Are there particular niches that are great for you? Is it a high number of SKU, high variability? Are there other pieces that you guys really focus on where people should really consider BigCommerce?
So I'm going to switch the visual here. Those that can't see it, a big differentiator when people will consider BigCommerce is this open SaaS. That's really the differentiator, and we kind of see it as a spectrum, right? So you would have had, maybe you've had experience with a Shopify on one side or a SaaS-based platform where everything was kind of out of the box as a solution, but there wasn't much customization that you could do, or you have a stack, you have Shopify payment, shipping, POS, right? Which works for some brands. They want to go that approach. It's like the Apple approach. Some people it works for. And then you have that other side where it's like open source. You're handed the Lego blocks and you're building everything from scratch, and you can customize a lot, but then you've got to manage all of it. So where we see as a sweet spot where BigCommerce is, and our story, if it resonates for merchants or for you, it's really if you want that middle ground where you have things that are given to you, everything's pre-built within BigCommerce, but over 95% of our platform is open via APIs, which just means you can customize every single area from the front end experience all the way to creating a custom checkout for your needs. So that's really the value and the differentiator.
Yeah, that's a great thing to highlight. I know a lot of people run into, say, in Shopify of, checkout is pretty well hard coded. Sometimes you can, get different apps that can help you change it, but there are pieces of it that are really sort of, this is out of the box, this is how you use it. And so that customization piece makes sense. Thanks for talking about that.
Yeah, of course. And if people aren't familiar too, I know everyone loves the analyst recognitions, and we have been recognized. This is less bit on BigCommerce. We've been recognized in Gartner and Forrester. So if this is important to you, having backing from analysts, we've been recognized as a strong performer, challenger in Gartner year over year, and as well as in the B2B Paradigm Combine. So for those B2B businesses looking for a solution, you can read about the reports. That's my last little plug I'll do there, and we can move on to Multi-Storefront, Eagan, if that's helpful.
Yeah, that's great. And I will say I've heard BigCommerce come up quite a bit in discussions about B2B e-commerce, so I know you guys are often used for that as well.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So you asked the question about multi-storefront, and I've got this question often from, from partners, tech partners, agency partners, from clients, and they kind of wonder, like, I've heard multi, I've heard it maybe from other e-commerce platforms in the market, and why is it relevant? So I think one thing here, and we were talking about this earlier, Egan, is like, who's this relevant for, and like, what does it actually mean? So if you're managing an online store, right, your brand, you're managing an online store, you probably historically, you launched online, you had one store, and your store had one storefront. So the store is the back end, and then the front end is that storefront. But then you're growing your business. Maybe you're like, hey, this is really working for me. My brand is selling really well. Let me see if I can pop up a different brand. Let me see if I can try a different marketing strategy. Then you're going to have a second storefront there. So how would you manage that? So like historically, a lot of people would manage those different storefronts in separate entities. So I have one brand on one store, and I've got another store with another brand and another store with another brand. And that sounds like great, but how do you manage that? Maybe you have some of the similar products in between and inventory management. You're having to log in to multiple screens and multiple stores to figure this out. I've heard this from so many clients, like, oh, this is not even achievable. It's way too time consuming. What if people over order on my website? So that's really where multi-storefront has come in.
Yeah. Can I tell a story that comes to mind about that?
Yeah.
Years ago, I owned an e-commerce business, and you may be able to see this cat painting behind me. So we did custom oil paintings of people's pets. And the thought was always, we had these great artists, and we were partnering with them to do the actual handmade oil paintings. And could we go into different niches? And so we've looked into maybe, hunters kind of with their trophy game, maybe video game characters, maybe fan art, maybe, it's like there's different sorts of things you could go into. We could use the same suppliers, have the same sort of model of maybe we're running Instagram ads and then selling a custom painting. But the custom pet paintings, the funny custom pet paintings thing would be its own niche. But then maybe, for hunters, they would see a totally different storefront. Am I thinking about that the right way?
Totally. Yeah, there's so many different use cases that people can utilize this for. And right, if you're a smart marketer, you really know like how to optimize your pages for SEO and target different campaigns. We see a lot of businesses, even maybe on the smaller side, that are just testing out different marketing strategies and want to spin up a storefront. Maybe it's similar products, but I'm going to market a little bit differently and try this messaging to target, this specific segment of clients. And then let me try different messaging, and where I tried Gen Z here, I'm going to retarget it towards the boomer generation and have different messaging and images, right? So that could be a different storefront. So there's a lot of approaches that are relevant here.
Yeah, that's great. We really focus on a lot of marketing on this show on what's working in e-commerce, and it really makes sense that when someone hits a landing page, when they see your website, they want to think, is this for me? As Seth Godin says, and this is marketing, it's people like us do things like this. And so talking about the different generations or the different niches, the different customer personas, it sounds like you can really gear your storefront to who is buying, this type of product or from this brand. So that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And also, so just some areas to break it down. You said brands, right? So people love brands. As a marketer, if you're tuning into this podcast, you're probably caring a lot about marketing and personalization. Like you're probably going to buy from a brand. If you're going to their direct website, you're not going to Amazon or eBay. You're actually invested in that brand. So what are you as the merchant doing to show that brand story and to truly convey that? So since that's super important, if you have multiple brands, you want to be able to convey that brand story for each of these brands, completely owning that experience. And a lot of times, like that could be hard to do if you had to manage different stores. But if you have a simple product that you can easily pop up different storefronts to manage these brand experiences, that's just going to help you grow your business and really give that targeted messaging and communication that your buyers need.
That's great. Interesting quote at the top too. 63% of consumers stop purchasing products and services companies who provide poorly executed personalization. So personalization is the name of the game here.
Exactly. Yeah. And brand is one too. And the other one, if you're thinking, right, you mentioned B2B. So B2B is a big area of focus. And I think you've probably seen this before. I've heard this quite often from the market is a lot of B2B businesses were selling offline for a long time. They were like, we want to manage our customer experiences and we have these direct relationships. We don't want to bring it online. That'll, make it unpersonal. But they're really wanting to go online now. Like people, B2B buyers are expecting this modern experience. And how
Mm-hmm.
can you deliver that online with that close touch experience and manage that? Maybe you're also selling direct to consumer. So how can you keep that in a single place, but still
Mm-hmm.
manage these completely different buying experiences?
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of is before I was in digital marketing, I was actually in hospital software, like hospital IT. And we always dealt with doctors and nurses and other users of the software. It was pretty much B2B software that, it's big enterprise hospital software. But their expectations around, UX and usability and things were formed by using their iPads and iPhones at home, or just like in general, like as a consumer, the level is up here, and then when they go to work, it's just like the usability wasn't there, and so those expectations carry over, and it makes sense the same would be true, buying B2B products.
Totally. Yeah, that's a great example. And like we don't think about it like, oh, it's a B2B buyer, but it's like it's the same person that interacts with websites and
Mm-hmm.
lives and walks in the same society every day. So if we're improving on the consumer side, that expectation for B2B is going to follow.
Yeah, that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
The third area that's super common too, if these other two, hey, I don't manage multiple brands, it's not relevant. Okay, I only sell maybe, B2C. Another third area that's super important is merchants that are selling into multiple countries or regions. So I just moved from the United States over here to London, so I'm seeing
Mm-hmm.
this all the time dealing with Europeans is having localized websites that's not just my website as an American. I was like, okay, cool. If you just put your website available in France, someone will buy from you because they know your
Mm-hmm.
brand. But it's
Yeah.
not that easy, right? Like it's not like it's available, so
Mm-hmm.
purchase.
Yeah, and I've heard that in SEO and CRO that comes up as just like if someone's looking to buy, say, your pet paintings or whatever in the UK, like they need to see the currency in pounds, and the word color needs to be spelled the British way.
Exactly. Yeah, because otherwise it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
wait, no, it's the trust aspect. It's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
am I going to get this product? If I purchase it, is it really going to come to me? Is it a scam? I don't know. There still is like a fear of sometimes purchasing online and quality of the product. So whatever you can do to make it seem as, hey, I as the merchant, as the brand, know your market. I know you, customer. I'm showing the options that you want, the prices, the promotions that are relevant for the holidays that you have, the shipping options that show the couriers that you're familiar with, the better that you're going to see conversion in the end.
Would there be a version that's maybe .com in terms of top level domain? In the US, that's what people see, and then I don't know if it's in the UK. Is it .co.uk? Like, am I thinking of the right thing? Where it looks a little different. It's localized to the country or the area, and then even the top level domain is different. Am I thinking about that right?
Yes, you definitely are. So yeah, the domain, which is going to be incredibly important for, SEO strategy as well. I'll talk to a lot of merchants that, there's the domains, there's subdomain strategies, and there's subfolder strategies. To get into the techie weeds, people have different approaches. We typically recommend a subdomain strategy for having your different storefronts with a local like .fr or .de for Germany. But yeah, that whole experience from the first time I'm searching and landing me to the right website to the whole checkout and buying experience as localized as possible, the better you're going to perform.
And this could get into internationalization of the copy and everything's in a different language. I assume people are using it that way too.
Yeah, definitely. And I can show you an example too. I have an example of this. If that would be helpful, I can pop in. All right, so here is an example. We're probably all familiar with this brand, Ted Baker. They have a location, so they're seeing that I'm coming from the United Kingdom and showing English. So if I go to the website here, this is what I see. I'm going to automatically see my currency that's applicable to me. I'm going to see everything's in English because that makes sense for me. You can go through the products and see the imagery. Um, all right. So you can kind of see what this experience is. Lots of content, very pretty website. And then one area too to show is these payment methods at the bottom. So this is also important since we won't go all the way through like payments checkout, but to have the appropriate local payment methods that make sense for my market. So I just wanted to call that out.
I see Klarna in there. That's used in Europe and stuff, right?
Yeah, Klarna is huge. Yeah, Klarna is like the biggest probably buy now, pay later solution in the
Right.
European market.
Yep.
Um, and now let's go to a different one. So I'm gonna practice my let's do Germany just to see a different language. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
go to a different website. You can't see this at the top, but it says tedbaker.com /de. But look, everything is automatically right. I'm not seeing pound anymore. I'm seeing euro, the appropriate currency. Everything's been translated for me. Some of the areas are the same for marketing, but as I go through the whole experience, you can see everything is translated. And then look, a different payment method popped up. So this is an
Ah.
area here just like showing localization. This is a very relevant payment method, bank transfer specifically for Germany. If we were to go through the experience, you could see shipping, you could see different promotions, but these are just some areas. If as a brand, I would consider follow some big global websites, click through their different experiences, and see what changes. Because sometimes you're going to see different categories. Sometimes you'll even see different products that are shown and different images or different colors of the images that come up. So that's what I always do when I'm trying to learn like what's working well in a market is follow like the leading brands and see what they're doing.
Yeah. Very cool. Thanks for showing that example. That was really cool to see.
We talked a little bit about multi-storefront. I showed an example there. We can cover, if you want to see like what it looks like, I can cover that. Or if you want to jump into something else.
Yeah, that's great. Anything visual is good. I love to see examples. That was very cool. I'll let you guide us from here. I don't even know necessarily what to ask. I think I started, digital marketing life as an SEO. And so I was thinking that piece of, okay, we changed the words on the page. Like I'm thinking words on the page, but when you're saying the products, the images, the messaging, like it could all be different based on different markets. Like that goes well beyond just, hey, we need to get this translated into German.
Totally. Yeah. That was something that I learned. So before I was in my role, I did product marketing here at BigCommerce for 4 years, and I helped a lot with helping cross-border strategy for merchants, helped with the launch of multi-currency, multi-storefront, learned about promotions, shipping tactics people were using. And merchants really like there's a lot to consider if you really want to be successful in different markets. I mean, you're thinking of pricing for different markets, like price sensitivity in Sweden is going to be very different than Italy. They're very different economies, and Spain, right? Like it's a very different economy. There's going to be like a higher willingness to pay. In certain markets, in Latin America, if you're selling there, maybe there's a different buying strategy around loyalty programs or having different promotions that are available. So there's a lot you can research.
Yeah, I'm hearing this. I'm going. It makes a lot of sense. It's worth the money, but man, what a big world! What a lot of work to do here. So it keeps many of us employed and many other people too. Is there an example that's not language based where someone's using storefronts a different way you could show us?
Yeah, definitely. So another example, let me show you. You can see my screen. This is Damn Good Beauty. So they're out of Australia, and they are that multi-brand example. So they have like Urban Jungle Beauty, Apellis. They've got quite a few brands. And a little bit of a background for them is this is a very large company that historically sold to hotel chains, right? Large hotels. And during the pandemic, they thought, okay, what we need to have a different strategy, right? Because that industry, hospitality, was hit pretty hard. And so they decided to open up Damn Good Beauty as this, direct to consumer focused company that manages all and groups together all of these brands and then has unique websites for each brand too, which I can walk in.
So we have clients where they sell wholesale and they sell direct to consumer. And it's always this question in WooCommerce or whatever, where you're just like, how do we deal with wholesale pricing and users and analytics? And how do we separate that from direct to consumer? So it seems like that could be a use case here.
Yeah, definitely. No, the B2C and B2B, and that's something that comes, if you are focusing on targeting prices to different merchants, that's something that comes natively. I mean, within BigCommerce, you can easily create different company accounts and then have targeted products and pricing to those different companies that are logging in. So that is just native to I can speak to BigCommerce because I work there. It's native to BigCommerce functionality. We call it customer groups and then price lists. But that is something that's very relevant. A lot of other companies are maybe has like a wholesale portal where you can just like request information, but it's, right, we talked about having that B2C like experience for B2Bs. They really want to have that experience where they can log in, something's personalized to them, they still can click the items they want to and add it to their cart.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were there other things you wanted to show about Damn Good Beauty here? I think I interrupted you.
A couple of examples just for them. So these are just different brands that have completely unique websites too. So you could go in, that just shows the brand page, but you can go in, you can see the completely separate websites, but then it's all managed from the same portion on the back end. And I can share with you like what that looks like as an example. Obviously not showing the client's website, but showing a test example here.
You're getting your sales data and everything like that. You can see it all in one sweet place. You're not jumping around to different dashboards.
Exactly. Yeah. So like this is really the benefit of you can, so as you see here, simplify the way that you do business. You'll have a single backend where you have all of your orders flowing in from your multiple websites. You can manage all of your customers in a single place. You can understand who's buying from what website, right? You can target marketing in your emails, so that has specific marketing for each one. But it's just a way to manage everything. When you have lots of sites, it can add up a lot within just a single place.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for highlighting that, and very, very cool. You can imagine just the analytics and everything gets easier when we can sort of bring it all together. So that makes a lot of sense.
Totally. Yeah. And then also people are like, great, I can manage it all within a single place, but then what about creating these unique experiences? And all of that can also be tailored. So you can, use, if it's BigCommerce, you can use our page builder to create a custom front end, design without having to dip into the code at all. You can if you want to, if you're techie and want to, that's an option. But otherwise, I'm not techie. I can't do that. So I like to just go in and use widgets and pop in a video or a carousel. So you can create these custom experiences, have the custom domains, create custom pricing, all for these websites, and again, manage it within a simple user interface.
Yeah, that's great. I've learned a lot here, Halie. Is there anything else you want to show us?
I don't think so. I think this has been a great conversation. I hope it's been helpful for you. And hopefully some of these use cases resonate with the audience. Like I'm doing that, or I've considered selling or going into a new market, but I just thought it was going to be such a big barrier to entry. I can't handle it. I would say test it out, try it, find a solution if you're using something that you can manage multiple storefronts. Test it out, see how it works, and if you start little, it's fine, and then you can continuously iterate on top of that.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe just say again, who should consider multiple storefronts? Who should be considering BigCommerce as well?
Yeah, so just to tie that up, if you manage multiple brands, right? So if you have multiple unique brands, I would consider multi-storefront. If you're selling or want to sell into multiple markets, I would consider multi-storefront, especially if there's different currencies or languages. And then also if you're selling into different segments, so B2C as well as B2B, and you want to create those more tailored experiences, you can consider multi-storefront. So those are the three main use cases. And then for BigCommerce, consider BigCommerce if you are, maybe you've been selling online for a while, you're growing, you feel like you're reaching maybe limitations on a current e-commerce platform, and you want to explore different options of how can I grow my business further? How can I go to that next level to open up new markets, to get to my next revenue goal that I'm looking to? Consider BigCommerce. Or you're wanting to create a more custom experience, maybe go headless. Those are all things that maybe if it's resonating, you can contact us. I'm always here to give you information. I'm not in sales. That's not my number at all. I'm just here to talk to people and advise. So I'm always here to help give as much as I can unbiased opinion.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about, how you work with agencies or what your role looks like?
Yeah, so my role, it's very fun. I love it. So I specifically focus on our EMEA, which is mainly European agency partners. And my whole job is just to train our partners, whether we have new partners or existing partners, on what is BigCommerce, how do I talk about it to merchants, How do I help vet if it's right for the right deal? Can you tell me more about B2B or omni-channel? So my whole job is just training our partners to be successful.
Okay. So in many cases, they're agencies and they're building sites with BigCommerce. Is that right?
Exactly. Building sites, they're system integrators, perhaps. Maybe they're managing even marketing and ad spend. We've got a pretty broad spectrum of partners that I get to look after.
Yeah, right on. And Halie, you and I are connected on LinkedIn. Is that a good place for people to find you?
Yep, great place. If you want to share it out, feel free. Send me a message, connect on LinkedIn. Happy to talk to anyone.
All right. Halie Adams from BigCommerce. Thank you for coming on and sharing what's working in e-commerce.
Thanks for having me.